Hello there. Happy Monday to you. My name is Matt Wiss, and I'm the co-founder at Email Dice, where we specialize in email marketing. And recently we added a new service to our offering, which is authority building, objection handling, and trust earning content marketing for B2B space. Why did I started with that service or start offering the service? Well, after recording over 2,500 videos, I can probably say closer to 3,000 videos that I've record over the last 5 or 6 years for YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, X, and all other platforms that you can name there. I believe that video in 2025 and beyond in the world of AI is the best format to help you stand out as the founder, as an executive, as a director, to get your message across, to make mistakes like I do on my lives, to essentially try to sit down with your thoughts for a second before you say something. It's almost like having a dialogue with someone else. And in fact, you can actually record a dialogue with someone, a conversation with someone, and turn it into content for your company. And that will help you stand out, and it will help you also show that your company is built on or built with real human beings that are doing great job. And that's why we started offering content marketing, B2B content marketing, as well on top of email marketing, outbound, etc. Today is day 1 out of 5 that I prepared for this week, starting obviously on Monday if you're watching it. And that's when I record it. Let me share my screen so you can understand it better. There it is. Okay. So I prepared a 5 day series, and pretty much that's the reason why I record this live, or I'm hosting this live at 7 p.m. Pacific time, because it took me all day to come up with all the strategy here and the document and make it better and better so I can feel confident presenting it to you. But essentially, we have a 5 day series where we're going to break down and build together a growth engine for your company so you don't have to rely on referrals as much as you were relying over the last decade or two, or maybe even longer. And the first thing that we need as far as a growth engine for the company is the understanding who you're trying to target, who you're trying to connect with, and how big of a total addressable market are we talking about. So that's what we're going to build or work through today. It's a mini workshop, if you will. So finding out our TAM, as we say, total addressable market. And that matters because this will help you really with everything else, crafting your messaging, getting better replies, also saving money, because outbound, the thing about outbound is it's not really cheap. I mean, we spent probably 20 to $25,000 each year of our own money to figure out what's working, what's not working, and also obviously getting some return on investment of that. We can just be spending money out of nowhere. But if I realize personally that if you don't focus your effort on a essentially group of people that you're trying to connect with, then it will take you forever to actually get some significant return from your efforts. And so it's not cheap. Data is not cheap. It's easily available, and it's definitely possible to reach to hundreds, thousands of people, millions of people. If you have an offer that works for that amount, for essentially that amount of people that's your audience, right? Pretty much every small business or large, medium-sized business in the United States, just like Alex Hermosi did with his live webinar this weekend, selling 3 million plus copies of his book and his programs. So yeah, that's you, then obviously that's going to work. But most of the companies need to narrow down their reach. So your universe becomes a total addressable market audience, but also within that, we'll have, and I'll share a little bit more on that, Dream 100 list, which is your highest leverage accounts and potential clients that you can work with that would transform your business pretty much, because they're the best clients that you can work with. So if you think about it, you really want to clone your best client, find out who they are, where they are. I'm going to talk about it right now with how to define those filters. But essentially, you want to make sure that you are cloning a client that it's your best clients when it comes to communication, most profitable, highest retention, so they stay with you and your company for the longest time. And also, which we covered earlier, they bring referrals. That's what we all want. They bring us at least 2, maybe 3 clients or potential clients at least into your ecosystem. So those are the clients that we want to clone. So there's several platforms when it comes to building your database, building your TAM, total addressable market audience, and finding out even what it is. I've spoken with so many leaders that are now looking into expansion. So that means they have a new service and they want to enter a new market. So that might give you an idea of what's possible. So you can have some sort of projection, some sort of forecast of what you can expect from that audience. And also from that effort, you can do your fun math, which I'm a big fan of. So fun math is essentially when you crank up the numbers in your Google sheet on a piece of paper or whatever, when you know how much your offer is, you know how many people potentially can become your clients, and you can be strategic with your fund math, and maybe 10% or 5% of that market can become your clients realistically over the next 12 months. So that would equal X amount of dollars that we can set as a target for us, right? So there's a platform called Apollo. Maybe I'll show you the pricing right away. I don't know. It's probably the first page that I always open when it comes to software pricing. That, other than the pricing plate, gives you an idea of what you can get from that software. And I know I'm not alone. I read somewhere that this is probably the most searched landing page across all software or SaaS companies. So I guess I'm not the only one here, but that gives you obviously all the features that you can get for realistically pretty good price. I mean, if you do annual billing, it's even cheaper. But what we're looking for is obviously credits. 5,000 might be enough for you to start with. Maybe you want to use it for your outreach as well. I know there's obviously different platforms. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the L1 infrastructure, and I believe there's better platforms when it comes to outreach. However, Apollo is great to build your list essentially. So first things first, we have different criteria here, and I put together all kinds of keywords into all of these criteria so we can see how this pretty much works. So starting with obviously email status, verified, likely to engage, unverified. I'll definitely focus on verified and likely to engage. That just is the data that the algorithm that is built into Apollo. So we want to make sure that we get emails that are verified, but also tomorrow we'll cover how to triple or quadruple your verification process, so you make sure that you're actually reaching the right people, and it will help you with email deliverability because you're reaching out to verified emails. Job titles, that will depend. I use here an example as that will depend on your company. I use here as an example, HVAC company or large HVAC company that's going after big accounts, not homeowners, because that's a completely different approach for that. Run ads and you'll be good when you're doing locally. If you're going after larger accounts and you're bigger company, you want to, I've picked here several filters that they can use, but for you as an example, that's for later, that's for the newsletter. But so essentially you want to find out the criteria. Usually you want to go for executive levels, directors. You can go just for CEOs and founders. That number of total addressable market audience will change here. In this case, we already have 100,000 people that we could potentially reach out to. And we have franchise owners, chairman of the company, managing partners, directors, etc. So you can start removing what you don't want to have here. And when you do that, your numbers will start to change. So for example, partner, we don't want that. Managing director, we don't want that. Boom, we go down. Director, if you don't want directors, boom, we have like 60,000 directors here. All right, now we're talking about only founders, co-founders, owners, residents. Location, up to you. Can choose based on states. You can choose based on country. If you are targeting European countries, obviously you can do that. That's worldwide. Asian countries, up to you. Employees, depending on the size, obviously, or your offer, or the size of your ideal client profile that you map out, you can choose whichever applies to you. Obviously, when this data is usually pretty accurate. So if you're trying to reach bigger companies, they will most likely have more than 50 employees. So that's obviously just an idea. And then you have all kinds of industries and keywords here that you can develop and add into your search here. And if you want, you can also include some technologies or revenue, which is not really accurate based on my experience. time in the current role, I think that's relevant. So if you have a CEO, if you're targeting CEOs and presidents, you ideally want to maybe not even 2 years, but maybe 5 years in the company. You want to work with reputable companies or companies that have been tested enough by different market waves. And that's what how you can imagine it. Another thing is that you can add keywords. If you click here, you can do company keywords. So, for example, if you have certain certifications that you know your ideal clients must have, if this is maybe in aviation businesses or maybe in renewable energy space, maybe something else, you want to make sure that they are licensed. Now, they will likely have it on their LinkedIn profile, on their website, or they can, that they're a licensed company. So that's obviously a keyword that you can include, and that tool will filter companies that have that keyword included, included in their overall online presence. So you can be creative here, and this is our first step. So this gives you an idea. So for example, here, if we have obviously we have all kinds of markets here, but sort of let's say companies between, I don't want to target companies with 500 employees, and I want to target companies 100 to 500, right? We're talking about 20,000 people. So here are examples of the companies we're talking about, or we have that match this criteria. Obviously, as you can see, founders, names. So now you can highlight them, maximum people per company. You can do 2 or 1, select all. And that's where you need your credits for when you start exporting it. So if you have a professional plan, you get 10,000 credits per users per month. So that gives you 1 email as 1 user, phone number is 5 credits. If you're doing cold calling, maybe that's what you can do. I mean, that's what you should be including as well, but you need at least emails. So if you have 20,000 people, that will give you an idea, which we covered tomorrow, of how big your outbound infrastructure needs to be. Obviously, you will not be able to connect with 20,000 people on LinkedIn, but you might as well email them over the next couple of weeks. Once you have the infrastructure built out, you can essentially grab that list, send it out over a couple of days, reach 20,000 people. If your offer is relevant to that people, if you narrowed it down, then you will get probably a couple percent of these people will respond to you. That allows you to really test the market and find out what's working, what's resonating with them. So it's a really cool way to test your new offering or maybe new market that you're entering. But as I mentioned, you cannot focus on, or you cannot connect with 20,000 people on LinkedIn. It will take you forever. And it's a worthy goal, maybe to get followers, to turn them into followers, but that's not possible with outreach, right? So in here, we briefly covered the Dream 100 approach. So now that you have that list and you, let's say, download that list, you have a list of people. I actually wanted to show you an example of a list, but then I'll have to blur out everything because of privacy data. So you don't want to do that. But I shouldn't be doing that. But essentially, now you have that list, and perhaps there is a certain city that you could go after. Maybe there's a certain sweet spot within that list that you know that these can be great companies. Or maybe you're doing some sort of manual check, and you go through a list and you identify some keywords that are giving you that absolutely perfect client for your offer. I mean, they're a dream client, you know you can help them. So I would separate that and essentially add a filter or something, separate them to build a list of maybe not 100, but maybe 50, maybe 100, maybe 150 dream 100 clients. And for those folks, you can absolutely send connection requests. You can send 200 per week, I believe is the limit right now, according to LinkedIn, or don't quote me on that. Usually it's anywhere between 100 and 200 per week. You can send connection requests. When they accept it, you can send them a direct message. You can send them a personalized email. We'll go through the personalization with AI later on, or I believe 4 or 5, according to the document. But you can obviously, even without AI, personalize an outreach for them. Maybe record a special video for those 100 people when you send an email or that follow up. You can send a direct mail, something that they will not miss. Obviously, call them. Maybe for those 100 people, you can use those 5 credits and actually get their phone number, give them a call. You definitely want to do everything you can so they respond and you get in front of them and you get the opportunity and honor to essentially pitch your services or explain how you could come into their business and solve a problem that you know they have or you think they might have. And if that's worthy of their time, then you can explain how this solution will, what kind of ROI that solution can bring into their business and how you can help them. So that's it for today. If you have any questions regarding it, and by the way, well, first of all, if you have any questions, one thought at a time, right? If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I will also add, if you would like to get this document, the full document, and some prompts. I have 5 prompts that might help you build your own growth engine for the company, starting with your criteria, helping you define what criteria to put in here based on your company, how to craft copy, email, DMs, also how to mine objections, because that's what we're going to talk about day 3 as well, how to create actually content that once you start reaching out to them, they start checking out your LinkedIn, that your online presence, your LinkedIn presence, your Google presence, maybe Instagram. You will have great content that will help them understand who you are, what you do. So if you want to create content, build your own content calendar, and obviously optimize your campaigns that you've been doing so far, you can get access to this via newsletter, and you'll be prompted a pitch like this. Once you give me your or fill in here your name and your email address, I will send it to you right away. So that's it for me for today. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on what we covered today. Hopefully, you'll benefit from it and start scaling and growing, expanding beyond word of mouth. Take care.